do I do a little better this time? Like that. That's better. Okay, we're going to talk about axe throwing today. I probably have the wrong glasses on for it, but we're going to continue. Alright, first, we're going to talk about apparel. I know that sounds kind of funny, sounds like I'm trying to make a fashion statement, but I'm really not. Sometimes when you throw these things, they'll hit the target and bounce off and come back at you. They're kind of like a football. They can take funny tumbles across the ground and come back straight to you. So you want to make certain that you are wearing shoes. You want to make sure that you're wearing full-length pants, because it is possible to get hit. You don't want to wear something that's going to inhibit your ability to dodge if need be, but you really want to be covered. Alright, so this is a tomahawk, and like all edged weapons that you're going to throw, it has a point where it's going to balance. Okay, now why is that important? Okay, that is important for this reason. The axe or knife is going to rotate around that point of balance. Okay, now why does that make a difference? Okay, this is why it makes a difference. It's particularly critical on knives. If you'll notice, even though I'm turning the same speed, it looks like this end is traveling much faster than the blade end. And in truth, it is. It's covering a lot more territory. Alright, so what becomes critical is the angle where the blade hits the target. On a tomahawk, it's anywhere from about dead vertical to somewhere up around here, and it will continue to stick. Alright, when throwing a knife, the same principle applies on that point of balance, okay? Everything has a point of balance. The difference with a knife is that the speed of rotation can become a problem, because you actually have a very narrow window where the knife is actually going to stick into the target, okay? If it goes too high, it will bounce off the target. If it goes too low, it won't penetrate the target, it'll bounce off. So you're in this window from about here to about here where it's going to stick. Other than that, it may fall right out of the target. With axes and knives alike, you can alter how quickly it rotates, okay? By changing where you grip the axe. The closer to the handle you are, the faster your head is traveling when you release it, and therefore the faster it's going to rotate. If you grip it up a little bit, it will slow down the rotation just a little bit. So you can do minor adjustments if your distance isn't quite right to your target. Okay, now you remember we were talking about rotation, alright? There are a couple of other things you can do to change how fast it rotates. One of them is you can flip it as you're throwing it. Now that's kind of unreliable. Now this is where our discussion goes into your stroke. Your stroke, you should be releasing in the same place every time you throw it. The more consistent your throw is, the better you're going to get results out of your throwing. Now, there are also two types of strokes. There is a one-handed stroke, and there is a two-handed stroke. The two-handed stroke is usually used on heavier axes. Now, as you can see, there's a lot more steel in this big one than there is in the small one. So, it's kind of a load on your arm to throw this monster, so what you're going to end up doing is using a two-hand overhead stroke. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the mechanics of how to get that done. First, the two-handed stroke. You're going to step into your stroke and throw. As you throw, you want your arms to be pointed at the target. Alright, so I'm going to give this a shot real quick and see how we do. That's how you do it. Okay, the mechanics of that throw, okay? We're going to step into it, twist and release, and we're going to try again to be pointed fairly well toward the target. Now you're going to get a little follow through on your arm. It's going to tend to want to go down, but you want your stroke to be consistent where you release at the same place every time you throw it. Now, as we talked about before, knives are a lot more critical on the distance away from the target. Again, you can adjust it a little bit by where you're gripping the blade. However, I want to caution you, when you throw the knife, make sure that you're not gripping the sharpened edge in your hand, because what can happen when you release is it can slice your hand open. So you want to make sure that you're gripping the spine of the knife, or in some cases the handle of the knife. Now when you're gripping the handle of the knife, you're going to end up being a lot closer to the target and more prone to having it bounce back at you and maybe hit you. So I kind of like to be farther away from these things so I don't hit myself. So distance is more critical with these things because they spin a lot faster than the axes do. So we're also going to have to probably get a little closer to the target to throw it. Like that. Try that again. See if I do a little better this time. Like that. Okay, those are the basic fundamentals of how you're going to throw an edged weapon, whether it be a knife or an axe. It's the same principles, your rotation, where to strike the target so the blade is going to hit at a critical angle and penetrate the target. But I want to caution you once again, make sure that you wear appropriate clothing for this to avoid being injured if you have a bounce back off that blade. Go ahead. Okay, my cameraman just threw this axe with the two-handed throw and got a pretty good stick on it. But can you see how the angle was not so critical on this one? It didn't have to hit directly into the blade. It got this corner of the blade and it still stuck into the target. There's one other important thing that we want to talk about when you're throwing edged weapons, and that is to, just like when you're shooting a gun, you want to establish a firing line. In other words, whoever is in the area where you're throwing needs to be behind the person that's actually throwing. Okay, nobody gets in front of that throwing line, whether that's the terminus point. Nobody's in front of that. If anybody's in front of it, you simply do not throw. One other thing that's a potential disaster, you don't want anybody standing directly behind you when you're going to throw the axe or the knife. The reason why is when you pull up, if you lose your grip, it could be a real disaster for somebody's day. If you found this video to be helpful and informative, please don't forget to like us up above, subscribe down below, and please make sure you come to visit us at askbill1911.com. Hi, Bill1911 here. Today I'd like to talk to you about something that's very important to us, and that's your safety. Do not attempt any of the things you see on our videos until you have thoroughly reviewed and understood our safety procedures. Also, if you're under 18 years of age, do not attempt any of these topics without the consent of your parent or guardian. Thank you.